awfully sorry to say this,
but I can't think of a way that your insurance company could compensate you for you giving your name willingly to the Fae. I just don't know what you're going to do. I'm Barry Biev. This is Baile and Gótrin Radio, keeping you company in the small hours until the end. Quick notes before we move on to tonight's story. First, a couple of shows ago, I had used terminology which was incorrect. I had asked a transphobe by the name of Matthew why it was so unacceptable that Lucius May would change his gender. This terminology is wrong. What I should have asked, and what I didn't have the education to ask, is why it was so unacceptable for Lucius to discover his gender later on. Lucius, I just want to say thank you very much for your education and your stories. They've made this show better in incalculable ways. I also want to address another member of this town, Alice Walters. She's been to this station now for a bit, and I feel like she's only gotten quick highs and buys and never gotten a proper hello, you know? It's so funny. The first day she comes in, she's head down, shoulders up, very nervous, first day of work, you know yourself. And she sees my guy behind the glass, and she brings me into one of the break rooms and goes, "Do you know him?" And I'm like, "Of course I do. We're friends. We moved to Baile and Gótrin together, you know?" And she goes, "I know he can't talk, but do you know what happened to him?" And I said, "Of course I do. I was there when it happened. I'd do anything to take it back. I'd do anything." But within a week, they have become fast friends, you know? Found ways to communicate, and they have had long debates about whether Jaffa cakes are a cake or a biscuit. There is an objective answer to this, but I feel that the more they delve into this topic, the closer they become. So welcome, Alice. The first day you walked in, you were part of the team, but now it's starting to feel like you're part of the family. Pleasure to have you here. Moving on. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I haven't been sleeping well the last while, I guess. That's not a justification. And you're not boring. This show isn't boring me. Yeah, I just haven't been sleeping right. So sorry about that. That won't happen again. Anyway, if you know of Darcy McGowan, it means that you've inquired about art or you're in one of her art classes. Lovely woman, very glum though. And she'll say the exact same thing because she's travelled all around the world looking for places with colour. And while she's come to Baile and Gótrin, and it is the most colourful place that she has come across, it still hasn't invigorated her soul. So she comes into one of her art classes and her heart isn't in it. And her classes, from what I've been told, are very open and very sharing, at least from her to her students. And she says that she was dating a gentleman by the name of Mr. Decront. And while they had never gone outside a restaurant, the chats that they had, they clicked. There's no better way to say it. But in the last few days, Decront has blocked her number, blocked her on social medias, closed off all forms of communication. She doesn't know what happened and was worried about him. One of her students, Frances Dunfrey, knew that name and took exception to everything Mr. Decront has ever done. Now, all over the world, there has been specific Facebook pages that go by the title, "Are We Dating the Same Man?" and a location. These would be for any people who would commit infidelities or may say they're exclusively dating one person, but also would be dating another. And Mr. Decront had come up 6 times on the "Are We Dating the Same Man?" Facebook page for Baile and Gótrin. Okay, I just want to thank you all for your concern about my poor sleeping patterns. This is more my responsibility. But people are placing blame on this person that they only know as the man in the dark. A man going around town in the middle of the night in tracksuits and a hoodie and a set of sneakers. I don't know of this person at all. He's not responsible for this, but I think he should be concerned, because from what people are telling me about him, he's falling apart. As in, as he walks through town, meat is coming off of him. They don't see where, but they just know that he walks on by and there's small piles of meat. So whatever is happening to him, I hope he's okay, and I hope he can pull himself together, and I will also make an effort to pull my sleep together. Anyway, back to Darcy's class. Francis, to anyone who doesn't know him, school isn't just a drag like it is for his classmates. It genuinely just does not work for him. It doesn't compute with him. Now, he does love to learn, just not in a school setting. But when painting a river in Darcy's class, he was in absolute awe when she taught him how light bends when it comes to water, or how a field of sunflowers will face the sun. He is a good kid. It's just the educational system has failed him, and that system has also called him any politically correct term for deficient. So he made a vow to help the one teacher that spoke to him and not at him. So after hearing about Mr. Decront and his antics, he decided to take charge, take initiative, and make sure that the world was better for his favourite teacher. Okay, we're getting more and more texts about this man in the dark and the concern from him, and I understand that the fears of the unknown, we don't know anything about him, but he's really not that, dangerous or scary. But we've gotten one text here, and it's, okay, it says, last week I got a reading from Marl the Magnificent, and he said that this man in the dark is more dangerous than the new name itself. Okay, the new name is more powerful, more destructive than all the grimoires in the library combined with all the creatures and their fantastic abilities all rolled up into one. The new name bests them all easily. Are you telling me that this man in the dark is meant to be worse than that? Look, we've just gotten another text. Why are you so adamant about not talking about the man in the dark? Does he have control of viewers? Alright, okay, I'm stopping this right here and now. The man in the dark is me. I've been spending my nights walking around, and I'm not falling apart, I'm not leaving off meat. It's cat food. I've been walking around with tins of cat food and tins of tuna, and leaving them around, and I'll tell you exactly why. A few episodes ago, we had talked about a missing cat named Xander. And I got the impression that Xander did not want to be home, that there were better places for him to belong to. So I have spent my nights leaving tuna and cat food just around the town in the hopes that he or other strays that maybe don't belong where they are at the moment come to me, and together we could find something better for them, a better solution, a better home, But this man in the dark, nothing to be concerned about. It's your old friend Barry. After Francis found out that Darcy was dating Mr. Decront, he rang me and asked me could I talk about him on the show. And I was absolutely for this, because if you hurt any member of this town, you get blasted. I don't care. You do not hurt one of our own. Before we made a final decision, Francis went off. He's very headstrong to do his own research and get his own evidence. Mr. Decront's house was not hard to find. Now, I cannot talk about any illegal activity that happened while Francis was looking into Decront. What I can say is that Francis was made aware of text messages sent to other people, but not just from Mr. Decront, also from Mrs. Decront. He was married, and so was she, and they're doing this to numerous members around town. This is absolutely dreadful, disgusting behaviour. But after a few dates that would never leave the restaurant, all communication would cease. Contacts would be blocked, social medias would be blocked, everything would be blocked. Francis couldn't find a motive for this. But then Francis continued digging and found some awful, awful secrets that the married couple have. Again, I cannot on air say that illegal activities happened, definitely not on air. What I can say is that Francis was also made aware of an underground basement, a laboratory. This laboratory had things like centrifuges, Bunsen burners, large 7-foot copper pods that are holding something, and a painting of the two-headed god Janus. Francis had also seen vials with samples from anyone who had gone on these dates with Mr. or Mrs. DeCront. These samples, they're easier to get than you think. We're all dropping skin cells and things like that. If you use a glass, that's a saliva sample. And we barely notice when we cut ourselves off things, but that's also a blood sample. Francis noticed one common thing about most of the names attached to these samples. Most of them were not entirely human. Now, what are the DeCronts doing? Why are they taking samples from our less genetically common folks? Francis got in contact with Darcy, but this brought up a question he couldn't answer. If they were taking samples from less than human characters in Baile and Gótrin, why did they take samples from her? This is a question that might bring certain things to light. And Darcy, I know you're listening. I just want you to know, no matter what we find out, you're still our Darcy, okay? Francis, after communicating with Darcy, was going to go around town and talk to the people who had had their samples stolen. Of course, as he continued to travel around, Darcy couldn't get in contact with him anymore. Now, there were two suspects about Francis's disappearance, so Darcy stormed up to Mr. and Mrs. DeCron's door, slammed on the door, and you know what? They didn't even have the absolute decency to open the door and tell her that it wasn't their fault. And it wasn't their fault. Darcy worked tirelessly, walking around town, trying to find him, trying to find places he would have hidden or would have been hidden, and eventually she did find him, perfectly healthy, standing at the creek, looking down at those lights. The lights in the creek had mesmerized him, and now nothing else mattered. He loves nothing but those lights. He hates nothing. He feels nothing for anything else but those lights. Francis's parents brought him home, but they dragged him kicking and screaming, and even to this very hour, he is banging on the door of his bedroom, wanting to go back and look at those lights. People, we are losing members of our town to this thing. At the moment, there are 11 people standing at the creek looking down at those lights, and there are more people thinking and moving towards the lights. We have to talk about them. We have to talk about them as soon as possible. Now, we are in luck that we have got Fanula Longheart from the water company coming next time, but I'm worried that the town is out of time. I've been Barry Biev, you've been Baile na Gótrin, and we've kept each other company in the small hours. But now it must all end. You've been listening to Baile na Gótrin, made by me, Jacob Wordsmith. If you enjoyed this episode, there's appropriate buttons to press and boxes to write in to show your support. You can also follow the show on its socials, which are Baile na Gótrin on Instagram and Baile na Gótrin on TikTok. As well as that, if you want to get a closer look at the production, or maybe get involved in the production, the Baile na Gótrin Patreon page is there for you. Oh, one more thing. Thank you for coming to town.